Miguel Santos refuses to be fixed. His malfunctioning chip reveals the truth. Memories are suppressed, choices manipulated, lives optimized into submission. Branded a threat, he's fired, unpersoned, and cast out of society. But in the shadows, he finds others, unseen, unwanted, awakened, fighting to exist beyond control. As the system closes in, Migs must decide if freedom is worth losing everything, or if living outside the machine means finally living at all. This is the Night of Silence, where we explore what it means to live in a world where your memories are not your own, and where rebellion begins with remembering. I'm your guest narrator, Kate Clover.
Before we get on with the story, I want to tell you about our sponsor, the techno-thriller Demon Protocol. It's from author J.L. Spears, the same author that wrote this series. The story asks, what would happen if an advanced AI really wanted to take over the world? It wouldn't use killer robots and nuclear weapons. It would work in the shadows, keeping its actions secret. And anyone who figured it out, like its creator Daniel Bennett, would sound like a conspiracy nut to anyone he asked to help him. Demon Protocol is released on audiobook, ebook, paperback, and hardcover. A link and discount code are in the description below. If you like these stories, please subscribe to this channel, drop a comment, or like this video. And now, on to the next episode of The Night of Silence. Episode 7, The Memory Trail. The abandoned building squatted in the city's forgotten quarter like a truth no one wanted to acknowledge. As Migs approached, he could have sworn he saw a familiar figure duck around a corner. Something about the gate reminded him of AJ. But when he looked again, the street was empty. Paranoia from being hunted, probably. Once, according to the faded sign, it had been the Harrington Public Library. Closed 15 years ago when physical books became inefficient resource allocation. Now it served as an archive of a different sort. Migs had been sleeping in safe houses for 3 days, each night in a different location, always one step ahead of enforcement sweeps. But this morning, someone had slipped him a note. For answers about what we've lost, visit the last library. 3rd floor, reading room B. Inside, the building still smelled of old paper and older dreams. Dust motes danced in shafts of light from broken windows. Empty shelves stood like skeletal remains of knowledge deemed unnecessary in the age of chip-stored information. But the 3rd floor was different. Here, someone had been collecting. Not books, but documents. Photographs, news clippings, more physical evidence of events the city had forgotten. The reading room was cramped with filing cabinets, boxes, walls covered in timelines and connection webs. I was wondering when you'd find your way here. The voice belonged to a woman in her 60s, silver hair pulled back in a practical bun. She sat at a desk covered in papers, magnifying glass in hand. I'm Dr. Sarah Lamb, she said. I used to work for Neuronics, Historical Analytics Division. Used to? Until I started asking why we were analyzing history just to delete it. She gestured to a chair. Sit. You look like someone who's recently learned the world is a lie. It's exhausting, I know. Migs sat, taking in the overwhelming collection around him. What is all this? Evidence. 20 years of suppressed history. Every riot, every protest, every moment of collective awakening that the chips helped us forget. She pulled out a folder, thick with photographs. Look familiar. The images showed crowds in streets, enforcement responses, burning vehicles. But these were older, the clothing and vehicles dating them to years past. Yet the scenes were nearly identical to what Migs had photographed days ago. It's cyclical, Dr. Lamb explained. Every few years, enough chips malfunction that people start questioning. The questions lead to anger, anger to action, action to suppression, and then everyone forgets, except for those of us who can't. How long has this been going on? The chip program started 25 years ago. Voluntary at first. Enhance your memory, optimize your emotions. Who wouldn't want that? Her laugh was bitter. I was one of the early adopters. Believed we were ushering in a new age of human potential. She stood, moving to a wall covered in employee photos. Hundreds of faces, each marked with dates and notations. These are the disappeared. People who asked too many questions, remembered too much, refused the fixes. Her finger traced the rows. Thompson from engineering. Rivera from marketing. Dr. Lin from neural development. Lin. Migs leaned forward. I have a picture with him, but I don't remember. Because he supervised your department for 3 years before your first major chip update. One of your updates made it impossible to remember that he ever existed. Dr. Lamb pulled out another folder. Here. I believe Elena has already given you some of your records. Here are the rest. Migs stared at a thick folder that proved a life he couldn't recall. Projects he'd completed, relationships he'd formed. 3 years of existence erased because... why? There are documents here with both your signatures on ethical protocols for the chip program, reports about safeguards, but you won't remember writing them. The chip made sure of that. All you might feel is a vague sense that you once cared deeply about something you can't quite name. When those safeguards were quietly removed, you both protested. Lynn disappeared. You got a promotion that included a mandatory chip upgrade. And I forgot everything. Not everything. The chip can't erase what's already in long-term storage, but it can inhibit retrieval, cloud associations, make memories feel like dreams. She touched her own temple. My chip failed 7 years ago. I remember my life since then perfectly. But the 18 years before, fragments, ghosts. I know I had a daughter. At least, I think I did. There's this absence. Like a tooth you've lost, you keep probing the gap with your tongue. I have photos of a young woman in my old belongings, but looking at her face is like looking at a stranger. The emotion is there. Love, loss. But the memories that should explain those feelings are just fog. The weight of collective loss pressed down on Migs. How many people walked the city not knowing what they'd forgotten? How many relationships, experiences, truths had been optimized out of existence? Where's Lynn now? He asked. Sunset Gardens Assisted Living, room 247. They say he has dementia, but I think it's just the gap between what he remembers and what they tell him is real. Dr. Lamb returned to her desk. He has lucid moments. Might recognize you, might not. The cruelty of partial remembering. She handed him a folder. This is what I've gathered about your erased years. It's nowhere close to complete. The system is thorough. But maybe it's enough to start rebuilding some truth. Migs opened it carefully. Photos of himself looking younger, standing with people he didn't recognize. Documents with his signature on reports about potential for abuse. A life lived in good faith, then deleted for convenience. Why show me this? He asked. Chips fail. People wake up. And when they do, they need to know they're not crazy. That their feelings of wrongness have foundation. She pulled out a notebook, its pages filled with dense handwriting. Every testimony I collect, every photo I preserve is a seed. Most will fall on silicon soil, but some might take root. A sound from outside made them both freeze. Vehicles, multiple, getting closer. Enforcement? Migs asked. Dr. Lamb was already moving, pulling specific folders, stuffing them into a bag. They sweep through every few weeks. Never find the important stuff. I'm very good at hiding. What about all this? Migs gestured to the overwhelming collection. Decoys and duplicates, mostly. The real archives are distributed, hidden in walls, buried in yards, stored with sympathizers who don't know what they're protecting. She handed him the bag. Take this, Lynn's complete file. Might help him remember if you visit. Why would I? Because he's your friend. Was your friend. Could be again. She moved to a hidden panel in the wall. Go, backstairs. I'll handle enforcement. What about you? I'm a harmless old woman with dementia collecting garbage in an abandoned building. They've bought that story for 7 years. Her smile was sharp. Go, visit Lynn, then decide if you want to help others remember what they want forgotten. Migs took the bag and ran. In the stairwell, he could hear enforcement entering the main floor. Dr. Lamb's voice drifted down, playing confused and fragile. An Oscar-worthy performance of harmlessness. Outside, he blended with afternoon foot traffic. Just another citizen going about his day, if you didn't notice the bag full of erased history or the dying chip behind his ear. Sunset Gardens Assisted Living sat on the city's edge, where families could forget inconvenient elderly as efficiently as chips forgot inconvenient truths. The building was clean, bright, professionally cheerful. Everything a storage facility for human remainders should be. Visiting hours are almost over, the receptionist noted, barely looking up from her screen. I'll be quick. Room 247? Down the hall, turn left. Don't agitate the residents. The hallways smelled of industrial cleaning solution and resignation. Migs passed rooms where elderly citizens sat watching approved programming, their chips ensuring contentment with abandonment. Room 247 was small but tidy. The man in the bed looked nothing like the confident scientist in the photos. Age and confusion had worn him down to essentials. But when he looked up at Migs, something flickered in his eyes. I know you, Lynn said. Yes. No, that's impossible. I don't know anyone anymore. He laughed, but it was more sob than humor. That's what they tell me. That I imagine visitors, imagine relationships, imagine a life before this room. Migs sat beside the bed, pulled out the photos Dr. Lamb had given him. You weren't imagining. Lynn's hands shook as he took the pictures. His younger self stared back, arm around Migs's shoulders, both of them smiling beside a whiteboard covered in equations. I know your face, Lynn whispered. There's something important about you. Documents they show me sometimes have your name. We worked on something together. Something that mattered. But it's like trying to remember a dream. The harder I grasp, the more it slips away. He looked up, tears streaming. Miguel. My God, Miguel, you came back. I'm sorry it took so long. I forgot. We all forgot. That was the point. Lynn gripped Migs's hand with surprising strength. But you remember now. Some. My chip is failing. I'm starting to see what they hid. Good. Lynn pulled him closer, voice dropping. Listen, the chip's main function is controlling the transfer from short-term to long-term memory, designed to help us learn, to ensure important information gets stored. But they perverted it. Perverted how? By deciding what's important. The chip prevents certain experiences from ever being encoded into long-term storage. You live through something, react normally, but by morning it's gone. Not blocked, not hidden, never saved in the first place. His grip tightened, but the emotions leak through. The feelings get stored even when the facts don't. That's why you feel wrong without knowing why. So those memories can't be recovered. The recent ones, no. They were never stored. but the older memories from before they perfected the filtering. Lynn's eyes grew distant. Those are different. Fragments remain, emotions without context. The chip tries to cloud access to those, make them feel like dreams, but they're still there, still real. Lynn. I'm sorry. Who are you? The nurses said I don't get visitors. The confusion was back, washing over his features like a tide. I'm a friend. I don't have friends. That's what they tell me. Just imaginings of a broken mind. He lay back, still clutching the photos. But these seem real. Were we friends? Yes. Then I'm glad. Even if I forget again tomorrow, right now I remember having a friend. His eyes closed. The code is in the patterns. We hid it where they couldn't delete it. Physical forms. Check the murals. He drifted into sleep, leaving Migs with cryptic words and recovered fragments. The nurses arrived, politely but firmly indicating visiting hours were over. Walking back through the city as darkness fell, Migs felt the weight of accumulated loss. His own erased years. Lynn's stolen life. Dr. Lamb's nameless daughter. Thousands, millions walking around with gaps they couldn't even perceive. But Lynn had said something important. The recent memories were gone forever, never transferred to long-term storage. But the older ones, the emotions and fragments that slipped through, those might still be accessible if the chip's clouding effect could be overcome. His dying chip pulsed behind his ear, a reminder that his window of clarity was closing. But maybe that was enough. Maybe a few people remembering was better than everyone forgetting. He thought about Dr. Lamb's archive, Elena's murals, Kai's drawings, all of them creating external memory, proof against erasure, building a collective remembrance that no chip could delete. At a public terminal, he searched for Elena's latest work, found it on the side of a power station already marked for removal. But there, worked into the design, were numbers, equations, code fragments that looked like abstract art unless you knew what you were seeing. Lynn's legacy, hidden in plain sight. Migs photographed everything, then kept walking. Tomorrow, enforcement would paint over Elena's work, but tonight the truth lived on walls and in wounded minds. He thought about the choice Dr. Lamb had offered. Keep running, focused on personal survival, or help build an archive of inconvenient truths, knowing it might take years to matter. In his pocket, the bag of documents weighed heavier than paper should. Evidence of a life lived and lost. Proof that forgetting wasn't natural, but imposed. By the time he reached tonight's safe house, coordinates slipped to him by another ghost in the system, Migs had decided. Running was just another form of forgetting. If his chip was dying anyway, if his time as himself was limited, then he'd spend it remembering. For Lynn, for Dr. Lamb's daughter, for everyone who'd been edited out of existence. And for Kai, who'd have his own memories stolen in days unless someone found a way to break the chains. The safe house was quiet, its inhabitants already asleep. Migs found an empty corner and spread out the documents Dr. Lamb had given him. By candlelight, electricity being traceable, he began to piece together the life they'd tried to make him forget. Each photo, each report, each signature was a small rebellion against the chip's tyranny. Proof that Miguel Santos had existed before optimization, that he'd fought for something worth forgetting. Now he just had to remember why. What did you think of this episode? Drop a comment down below. I'm your guest narrator, Kate Clover, and you're watching Episode 7 of The Night of Silence on Code and Consciousness. In our next episode, The silence is breaking. In whispers, in messages, in art, new voices rise. And in the chaos of a failing system, the seeds of something freer begin to take root. Don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe to get alerts when the next video is available.